playthrough. So what I wanted to do today real quick is just kind of give you a quick rundown of Ethnos, the newest board game from Cool Mini or Not by Paolo Mori. And the reason I wanted to do this separately, and again, I've talked about this in some of the other reviews, but if you haven't seen it yet, what we're going to be doing is posting short 5 to 10 minute reviews of games, including Ethnos, so check out that review. And in the review, I'm just going to kind of give you the quick rundown of these are things we like, these are the things we don't like, and this is if you should pick it up or not. Real simple. So very similar to what you might get on Board Gamers Anonymous with a little bit more depth. And that's it. So if you want to know more about the game, great. In addition to that, though, I wanted to give you a little bit more, a bit of a walkthrough. And typically we would put these together. We've done that in the past, but we've gotten some feedback that people really like those short reviews. And so that's what we want to do for you guys. But at the same time, I don't want to skip this part because I think it's super important to see the game and to know, what's in the box, what does it look like, how does it play together, what are the basic mechanics. I might also be doing full playthroughs where applicable. This particular game is not a great one for that. It's not particularly fun to watch, people just drafting cards over and over and over again, but there will be something we bring up a lot in the future, especially for solo playable games. I'll be doing that for you. But so for now, today, I wanted to give you an overview of Ethnos, how it plays, what comes in the box, and then I'll shoot you over to the review to kind of get my final thoughts on what I think of the game. So here we go with Ethnos. So if you haven't seen this one, it's been super hot lately. There's been a couple glowing reviews elsewhere from our Dice Tower compatriots with Tom Vassell, as well as Shut Up and Sit Down and a few other guys. So check out those reviews as well if you're interested in hearing differing points of view, but probably all have similar opinions. Spoiler, I really do like this game quite a bit, but you can hear all of that in the full review. But the game itself, what you get in the box, I got the board set up here in front, and you can see it's a pretty small board, especially for a worker or for an area control game. There's not a ton going on here. It's a little blandish. There's nothing particularly jumping out at you. I know this is the one criticism you'll read online is about the artwork. Personally, I don't have a huge problem with the artwork. It's by John Howe. I think it's generic fantasy for sure, but I think that's on purpose. I have no problem with that. You do get the same artwork on every card. So there are 12 different races in the decks. So you're going to get 12 different pieces of art here. But for example, we have an orange centaur card and a blue centaur card. It's the same picture of a centaur. So that's what you're going to get throughout the game. And there are, as you can see, all these different cards. Every single race has, I believe, 2 of each color, with the exception of the halflings, which have 4 of each color. And the goal of the game is you are trying to collect either sets of the same color or the same race. And then you can activate different powers based on which of the races is in charge of that warband. When you play a band, so once you have a set and you play it in front of you, you will also get to place one of your little doodads, whatever these are, on the board. So it is a little abstract in terms of how it plays out as a fantasy game. It is definitely an area control game. But the reason that this game is so unique is that it's a very simple area control game. It's very accessible. It's very straightforward. It doesn't have all the bells and whistles and combat and explosions that other area control games often have. It takes, I think the box is something ridiculous like 45 minutes, and it's probably more in line with an hour, hour and a half, depending on how many people you have playing, because there is a drafting element. But once everybody knows how to play, it flows pretty quickly. So let me show you real quick, zoom out here, how we set this thing up and what's involved in playing the game. So again, I'm not going to do a full playthrough here. The game is pretty simple, but I'll show you kind of a couple hands so you get a good sense of what we're doing. So first things first, we decide which races are going to be in the game. So you get this deck of cards with all 12 races in it. So you can see we got skeletons, wizards, wing folk, minotaurs, elves, trolls, etc., etc. These are the ones I played last time. So you shuffle this up. All right, and then you take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Boom, those are the races we're playing as. That's all these cards are for, but it's a very helpful way to do it. You can also pick them if you want. It doesn't particularly matter. So then we're going to go through the deck, pull out all of those. All right. So I'm not going to do that entirely here. I think most of these are new. So we got Minotaurs are a no, and Trolls are a no. The rest of these are in. I only know that because I know which ones I played with last time. So you would actually need to go through each of them next time you play. And then we're also looking for Merfolk and Giants, which are also in here because I played with those last time. Alrighty. So I got the Merfolk right there. And last but not least, the Giants. Okay. Oops, which are mixed in right up here with the dragons. Okay, so that's our deck. That's what we're going to be playing with this game. All the rest of the cards go into the box. So you do get a lot of permutations, which is nice. The powers on these are not hugely game-breaking, but they are pretty unique and interesting. So then you need to give this a real good shuffle because you have them all kind of separated like that. I'm not going to bore you with that as we sit here. So I'll probably just draw from a couple different places so you can see what it looks like to have different cards out. But in general, you want to shuffle this pretty good. Put these away now because we know what we have. All right. And so when you do this too, there are a couple of special abilities. So not all the races have this, but some do. And in the case of what we pulled, we do. We have the Merfolk. They have their own separate board. So you pull that out. The Giants have their own little special token. You pull that out. Other ones that you might end up pulling out that we don't need this time are the Orcs. They have a special board. And then the Trolls have these special tokens. So we don't need those right now, but they are also in the game, so for when you pull those out. So we're going to go ahead and put the Merfolk board over there, just up here out of the way. And we'll put the Giants over on the side here. That just goes to whoever ends up playing the Giants at any given time. All right, so we have our deck of cards. We're going to draw 8 to start, to put down here. That one across the board here. Skeletons, another skeleton. Merfolk. Wizard. And Merfolk. All right. Then we split the deck in half. Shuffle the dragons into the bottom half of the deck. And the dragons don't do anything. All they are is they tell you when the game is over. Or the round anyways. There are 3 rounds. Or ages, I believe they're called. So once you draw the 3rd dragon, which could be the last card, or it could be right there. You never know. Then the age ends immediately. So that's important because you have to choose when to kind of finalize your actions for the round. All right, so we've got that out there. Just gonna scoot this guy over here so you guys can see everything. And then we're gonna put our deck down. Every player is gonna take one of these. Again, I'm not gonna settle this up, just gonna kind of show you how to run through it. Let's move the box here. And the game plays 2 to 6, which is really cool. And it scales well just because of the nature of the game. The only real scaling you end up doing is in these tokens here on the board. There are some that are 4 only, or 4+ only. So that one's 6 points, 4+ only. But that's it. And that's just really a matter of if you only have 3 players, you do not use all 3 spaces. So what you do is you randomly place out 3 tokens on each of these. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, boom, boom. Boom. Boom, 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 boom. All right. So you got all those out there. And then you organize them by number. So put the 10 up here at the top, 0 at the bottom. 0 to 6, 6, 6, 8 works. 4, 6, 10. 2, 4, 4. 2, 4, 8. All right. So those are our scoring mechanisms, and I'll show you what those mean here in a second. Now that we have everything set up, everybody's going to place a player piece up here for scoring, And you are going to end up lapping this board a couple times. So what I've been doing is just stacking another one on top. These do stack up. You'll see why in a second. And then on your turn, all you're going to do is you are going to do one of two things. You are going to either draw a card from here, from the face-up reserve, or take one from the top of the deck. Or, as your second possible action, you will play a band. A band can be one card if you want. It doesn't have to be, 3, 4, 5, 6 cards. The reason it matters, the reason why we care how many cards are in a band, is that the scoring, let's see if we can zoom in on that over here for you. The scoring here at the bottom of the board, you can see for one in your band, you get 0 points. For 2, you get 1 point. 3, you get 3. 4, you get 6. 5, you get 10. 6 or more, you get 15. After 6, it doesn't really matter. So the impetus of small bands is to get pieces on the board quickly for area control. But if they're too small, you're going to not score any points for them later. And really, most of your points are going to end up coming from the size of your bands in the end. So that is an important thing to keep in mind. So let's just run through real quick and I'll show you like what that would look like. Let's say this is, okay, my hand. Let's pull one randomly together here. So I have 2 purple giants, a wizard, and a winged folk in my hand. All right. I decide, hey, you know what? I can either do purple, I got 2 purple cards, or I could do giants, because I have 2 giants. And the important thing to remember here is, so let's say I've committed to this, I'm going to do giants or purple. These 2 cards are basically gone. They don't have any value for me anymore, because when I play a band, these go face up here. So let's see what that happens. Let's see, this turn I take this giant, the next turn I take this giant, and then the following turn I decide I'm going to play these giants. Okay, so these go down here. I don't get those cards anymore. So you can't stockpile other cards. Another thing that's important is you can only have up to 10 in your hand. So eventually, you have to play something. You can't just keep taking cards. When I go to play these, now the giants all have the same ability, so it doesn't matter who's in charge, except the color of the card. So if I want to control gray down here on the map, which is worth 0, 2, 6, not very good, probably don't want to do gray, right? What about orange? That looks pretty good, 0, 8, 10. I might consider that. And then purple, 2, 4, 4. So in most cases, let's say I'm playing this game, I'd probably go with orange. Even if it's the first round and it's worth 0 points, later on, it's good to be, have some space there. So let's say I'm going to put this band down, 4 cards for purple. And then what you do is you place a guy down and you are now have presence in that space. Let's say I already had a guy down. Then I will place another guy down and I will stack them up. And from the angle of this video, you can't really see it, but like at table size, it's pretty easy to see these things stacking and to see who's in the lead in there. You don't have to count them up. You can just see who's higher than the other people. One thing to keep in mind when you stack these, so let's say I have 2 out and I just have these 2 giants and I want to play that band. I can't. Let's see. It probably would be orange, actually. So I can't play this for a couple reasons. First off, I already have 2 there, and I only have 2 cards here. I have to have at least 3 cards, so I need to play that to be able to put a 3rd one down. So whichever number one you're putting down, you have to have at least that many cards, which means the first one you place anywhere, you can do with 1. And so that's a good way to efficiently start getting pieces out there early in the game. Keep in mind, though, that unless you're playing with a small number of people, you're not going to get anywhere with just the 1, and eventually you need to build up those bands. So putting out 1 card rarely makes any sense unless it's really at the end of the turn. But sometimes you can sneak in at the end of an age and get a 3rd place on something, especially later in the game. So that's how you play your bands. I mentioned too that there are some special abilities. So in the case of the giants, in particular, if you've played the largest giant band, you score 2 points immediately, and you get this token. Multiple people can do this per round. So let's say I play 2 giants, I score 2 points, and I get this. Somebody else plays 3 giants, they score 2 points, and they get this. whoever has this at the end is going to get points based on which age it is. All right, that's pretty cool. The Merfolk up there at the top, that one is basically a score track that increases over time based on how many Merfolk you've played. It goes up to 18. So once you've, at the end of each of those ages, whoever's in the lead there gets some points as well. That's pretty cool. The orcs allow you to basically collect different colored orcs bands that you've played. So there's different things you can do with some of these, which is pretty cool. It's 4 out of the 12 have a special, unique thing. There are other abilities, of course, though. The wizards here, they let you draw extra cards from the deck based on how big your band is. So if you play 5 wizards or 5 gray cards with the wizard on top, you get to draw 5 cards, which is immensely powerful. The elves, you may keep up to X cards in your hand. So if you play an elf band, you don't have to discard all those other cards. The centaur is one of my favorites. It lets you play a second band immediately. So that's another one where you can chain them together, play multiple centaur bands, and then play a third and get a lot of points out really quick. So a lot of different ways to kind of break the game very subtly, which is very interesting. And then scoring, that's the last thing that we haven't talked about yet. So the way the scoring works is you get points for all your bands. You're going to keep track of them each age. You're going to score them all up at the end of the age. But you also get points for, the special abilities of some of these different races and for area control. So the area control is probably the most straightforward. In the first age, first place gets that many points. So, it's different for every area. It'll determine who goes there. So like we have 2 zeros here, not great, but you can establish an early foothold. In the second age, first place gets the middle one and second place gets the second one. In the third age, first, second, third. So it just expands who can get in there and score towards the end of the game. If you tie, then what you do is, let's say there's a tie for first place. First place, the 2 first place ties will add up first and second. So in this case, instead of 10 points and 8, the 2 first place ties will both get 9 points. Pretty straightforward. And then there will be no second place. Whoever was in second will get the third place points. So that's a cool thing. And that's basically it. You run through the deck 3 separate times, reshuffle it each time. And at the end of the third age, you calculate final score and you see who came out on top. And, in general, this game is super quick, super easy to teach. It is, I don't know if I'd quite call it gateway, but it's pretty darn close to gateway, at least when it comes to area control. And it is not at all what I expected out of Cool Mini or Not. But again, I'll get into more of that in the full review. If you have not yet, make sure to hop on over and check out that full review, and I can kind of give you a full rundown of what I think and whether this is a game worth picking up for you or not. But for now, thanks for stopping by and for watching this full playthrough. And maybe in the future, if I can get a couple people over, we'll sit down and play through the entire game from start to finish and give you guys a good sense of the flow of it. It is pretty quick. But for now, that's going to go ahead and be everything. Thank you so much, and make sure to check out that review.